It's a cold morning in New York. Inside a fancy restaurant filled with elegant people, the door opens and Michael Caine walks in. He's an 80-year-old war veteran, simple and humble, looking for nothing more than a hot cup of coffee to ease the cold. But instead of a warm welcome, he is met with judgmental stares and a rude manager who approaches him immediately. This place isn't for just anyone. Are you sure you're in the right place? The manager asks. I just want a coffee, nothing more, Michael replies. Before Michael could say more, the manager had already sized him up with disdain, making it clear he wasn't welcome there. What no one knew was that in the corner of the restaurant, someone very special was silently watching it all. Respect isn't something you ask for, but something you demand. Drop a comment and subscribe and keep watching because the story is about to take a turn. Michael Caine is an 80-year-old war veteran. He served his country with honor and faced battles most people could never imagine. But life after military service was not easy. Today, he lives modestly with little money, but he carries something unshakable, dignity and pride. Michael wasn't there for a feast. He didn't seek luxury. All he was looking for was a moment of warmth and a hot cup of coffee. But on that day, fate had something very different in store for him. A fight for his own dignity. Have you ever wondered how many stories like Michael's happen every day? Leave a "Stay Strong, Michael" in the comments, and let's see this story through to the end together. Michael walked to an empty table in the corner of the restaurant. He pulled out the chair carefully, trying not to draw attention to himself. He sat down and looked around, waiting for a waiter. But instead of a waiter, the manager, John, appeared tall, well-dressed, and wearing a smile as fake as the muffled laughs coming from the background. John approached with slow, deliberate steps, as if evaluating Michael from afar before finally speaking. Waiting for someone, John asked, crossing his arms and tilting his head, his tone dripping with disdain. No, sir. I just wanted a hot coffee. It's very cold outside, Michael replied politely. John raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. A coffee? He repeated with a short laugh. This place doesn't serve just coffee. Our menu is for customers looking for a complete experience. I'm not sure you fit that profile. Michael tried to remain calm, but John didn't give him any room to breathe. Do you understand that people come here to relax, right? And, well, your appearance is, shall we say, a bit outside the standard we expect. Michael stared at John, maintaining his dignity, but the words were growing increasingly heavy. He took a deep breath before responding. I just need a coffee. I'm not asking for luxury, just a little warmth. John let out a mocking laugh and glanced around, as if inviting other customers to share in his opinion. Sir, listen, this restaurant is frequented by people with, let's say, good taste. You seem a bit out of place, to put it mildly. I serve my country, Michael replied firmly, and I believe I have the same right as anyone else to be here. John crossed his arms and leaned over the table. Oh, I see. A war veteran, huh? Very honorable, no doubt. But perhaps that patriotism would be better suited somewhere else, like a park bench, maybe. The words cut through the air like a blade. Michael remained silent, but his eyes reflected sadness. He didn't expect to be treated lavishly, but he certainly didn't expect to be made to feel invisible. John took a step back and pulled a radio from his pocket. Security, I need you here immediately. We have a little problem that needs to be handled. A problem? Michael asked, rising slowly. I just wanted a coffee. John smiled again, this time with irony. You've already spent more time here than you should have. People are uncomfortable with your presence. Please cooperate, so we don't have to force you to leave. All eyes in the restaurant were locked on Michael, but no one said anything. He looked around, hoping for a gesture of empathy, but all he found were averted gazes and muffled whispers, until suddenly, someone stood up in the corner of the restaurant. A figure who had been quietly watching the entire scene rose to his feet. A hat was slowly removed, revealing a face no one expected to see there. From that moment on, Everything was about to change, while Michael remained seated. Keeping calm despite the hostile stares, John decided it was time to act. He gestured to two security guards near the entrance, and they approached without hesitation, ready to carry out his orders. John pointed at Michael with a cold smile. "This gentleman here is disturbing the environment. Escort him to the door." "Gently, of course," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Michael looked at the security guards, who stood still for a moment, waiting for John's final signal. He knew he had done nothing wrong, but the situation seemed to be slipping out of his control. "No need for force," Michael said, standing up slowly. "I'm not a problem for anyone." But John wasn't satisfied with simply removing Michael. He wanted to assert his authority, turning the humiliation into a public display. John leaned slightly closer, sizing Michael up from head to toe. "A problem? Perhaps not. But you certainly don't fit the profile of our restaurant. I hope you understand," he stated, his tone falsely polite. Michael looked back at him, keeping his dignity intact, but it was clear the words affected him. "Don't fit the profile?" Michael asked, his voice low but firm. "I serve my country. I fought so people like you could live in freedom. All I asked for was a coffee. Is that too much?" John's eyes gleamed with impatience. He took a step closer, further narrowing the distance between them. "With all due respect, sir," John began, pausing to emphasize his words, "your story is nice, but it doesn't change anything here. We have standards in this restaurant, and unfortunately, you don't meet any of them." Michael took a deep breath. He knew there was nothing he could say to change the opinion of this man, but he wouldn't allow himself to be humiliated without standing up for himself. "Maybe what's really out of place here is your empathy," Michael replied, staring directly into John's eyes. John didn't bother responding. He simply made a sharp gesture to the security guards. "That's enough. Security. Kindly escort him out." The security guards stepped forward, positioning themselves next to Michael. But before they could lay a hand on him, a firm voice interrupted the action. "Nobody's going to touch him," declared a voice from the back of the restaurant. Everyone in the room turned to see who had spoken. A figure began to rise from a corner table, slowly removing a hat and dark sunglasses. As his face was revealed, silence engulfed the room. Dwayne Johnson, the world-famous actor, was there. And now, he was the one taking control of the situation. Dwayne walked over to where Michael and the security guard stood, stopping beside the veteran. He crossed his arms and looked directly at John. "So you think you can treat people like this? Explain to me what's going on here," Dwayne said, his calmness exuding authority. John stammered, clearly caught off guard. "Mr. Johnson, I didn't know you were here. It wasn't my intention to cause trouble," he justified, desperately trying to regain control of the situation. Dwayne shook his head, still looking at him. "It doesn't seem like a misunderstanding. It seems like you chose to humiliate a man who only wanted a cup of coffee." The silence in the restaurant was absolute. Everyone was mesmerized by Dwayne's presence, waiting to see what he would do next. John adjusted his tie, visibly nervous. "Mr. Johnson, we just have certain standards to uphold here." Dwayne raised an eyebrow. "Standards?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. "You call this upholding standards, humiliating a man who only wanted a cup of coffee." The security guards, who had been ready to act moments before, now looked uncomfortable, waiting for John's next move. Dwayne gestured toward Michael without breaking eye contact with John. "Do you know who he is?" he asked firmly. "He's a war veteran. He fought so you could have the luxury of working in a restaurant like this. And all he asked for was a cup of coffee." John swallowed hard. "I didn't know that," he replied, his voice barely audible. Dwayne sighed. "It's not about knowing. It's about respect. And clearly, you have none to give." The silence was broken by a few timid claps from a table in the corner. Soon, others joined in, applauding to show their support for Dwayne and Michael. The entire restaurant seemed to rally against John. Dwayne turned to Michael with a comforting smile. "You're not going anywhere," he said, placing a hand on Michael's shoulder. "Today, you're going to sit here with me, have the best coffee this place has to offer, and I insist on paying for it." Michael looked at Dwayne, visibly moved, though he tried to maintain his composure. "Thank you, Mr. Johnson." "I don't know what to say," Michael said, his voice trembling. Dwayne smiled gently. "You don't need to say anything. Just enjoy the moment. You deserve it." John, now speechless, slowly backed away as the customers continued clapping. The situation had completely flipped, and the manager who had once felt in control was now a symbol of shame for everyone there. Dwayne waved to the nearest waiter. "2 coffees, please." "Your best," he said before sitting down beside Michael. In just a few minutes, the atmosphere in the restaurant had completely shifted. What began as a scene of humiliation transformed into an act of solidarity and respect, thanks to the courage of one person who chose to intervene. As the coffees arrived, Dwayne turned to Michael. "Now, tell me, Michael," he said in a welcoming tone. "What brought you here today?" Michael hesitated for a moment, looking at the coffee in front of him before responding. "I went out early today to take care of a few things. The cold caught me off guard, and I just needed something warm to keep going," Michael explained simply. Dwayne listened attentively, his eyes fixed on the veteran. He didn't interrupt or look away, showing a level of respect few people were accustomed to offering. Michael took a deep breath before continuing. "You see, I served my country with everything I had, but when I came back, things were never the same. People forget, and that's okay. I don't expect to be treated in a special way. I just wanted to be treated like a person." The room fell silent again. Michael's words echoed not just in the ears, but in the hearts of everyone present. Dwayne placed his coffee cup on the table and looked directly at Michael. "You deserve more than this, Michael. And not just because you're a veteran, but because you're a human being worthy of respect." Dwayne suddenly stood up, taking out his phone. He began recording a video, turning to the restaurant's patrons. "What happened here today cannot be ignored. This man, who gave so much for this country, was humiliated because of prejudice and appearances. We need to do better as a society." The customers, now fully supportive, began to applaud again. Some approached Michael to shake his hand, while others tried to apologize for what he had endured. John, the manager, finally gathered the courage to step forward. "Mr. Johnson, I would like to formally apologize. It was never my intention to offend anyone," he said, trying to sound remorseful. Dwayne turned to him with a serious expression. "You don't need to apologize to me. Your apology belongs to him," Dwayne said, pointing to Michael. John turned to Michael, visibly uncomfortable. "Mr. Kane, I am deeply sorry for what happened. I acted inappropriately. I hope you can accept my apology." Michael looked at John, considering his words for a moment before responding. "I accept your apology, but I hope this serves as a lesson. This isn't just about me. It's about how we treat people, regardless of where they come from or how they're dressed." John nodded, speechless, and stepped back. Dwayne sat back down beside Michael, ending the video with a powerful message. Respect is the only rule that should exist. Let's make it happen together. Dwayne posted the video right then and there, and the impact would be greater than anyone could have imagined. As the video went viral, the atmosphere in the restaurant had completely changed. Michael, who had been on the brink of public humiliation, was now the center of attention and respect. People approached to shake his hand, take photos with him, and even offer help. Michael became a symbol of resilience and dignity, and his story, amplified by Dwayne, continues to inspire people around the world. Respect is the only rule. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Take action. Hit like to show your support for dignity and respect. Comment dignity for all if you believe everyone deserves kindness. Share this video to spread the message, because no one should be treated unfairly. Subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind us of what truly matters. Together, we can make the world a better place. Let's stand up for each other.